Hi, second graders. Today we are working on Module 3, Lesson 16, and we're going to be talking about greater than and less than. So greater than means something is bigger than another number, and less than means it is smaller than another number. So let's get started. We have number one would like for us to draw the following numbers using place value discs on the place value charts, and then answer the questions below. So we know that these three rectangles here stand for hundreds, tens, and ones. And if you remember from our previous lessons, place value discs are just little circles we're going to draw in those places that the circle will either represent 100, 10, or 1. So let's go ahead and do those. We know how to do them. So 132, how many hundreds are in 132? 100. How many tens are in 132? We have 3 tens. And how many ones are in 132? 2 ones. Okay, let's do the next one. 312. How many hundreds are in 312? Well, we have 3 hundreds. Let's look back at the number. How many tens are in this number? 1 10. And we have 2 ones. And if you notice, all three of these numbers have the same digits in them. They both have a 1. They all three have a 1. They all have a 3. And they all have a 2. Those digits are just in different orders, which really changes how big or how small the number is. 213. What number's in the hundreds place for 213? We have 2 hundreds. How many tens are in 213? There's our tens place. We have 1 10. And how many ones are in 213? 3 ones. Okay, so we drew the following numbers on the place value, using place value discs on the place value chart. Now we need to answer the questions below. So which number is the greatest number? Now, when you are looking at numbers to figure out what's the greatest number and what's the smallest number, we are going to look at the hundreds place first. So you always look over there at that hundreds place and see which one has a bigger amount of hundreds, because that means that number is going to be a lot bigger than the numbers that have less hundreds. So if we look here in our hundreds place, this one has the most hundred circles. So the number that's 300 something is going to be the greatest number. So we're going to write 312 on this spot here. Which is the least number? So least means the smallest number. So which of these three numbers is the smallest number? Well, which one has the least amount of hundreds? That's going to be our smallest number. So that one had 3, this one has 2 in the hundreds place, and this one only has 1 in the hundreds place. So that's going to be our least number. 132 is our smallest number of the three. Order the numbers from least to greatest. So we're going to put them in order from the smallest to the biggest. So we already know the least number, right? It was 132. And we already know the greatest number. It was 312. So what's our middle number here? Which one of those was the middle? The one we didn't write yet. 213. Great job. Okay, down here our job is to circle less than or greater than. Whisper the complete sentence. So they give us two numbers here, 97 and 102. Our job is to decide which goes into the middle of the sentence to make the sentence true. So we have to decide if 97 is less than 102 or if 97 is greater than 102. So what do you think? Is 97 less than or greater than 102? Hopefully you can see 97 is less than. So we're just going to circle less than because that's what we need to complete that sentence. Now we're going to say the entire sentence. So say it with me. 97 is less than 102. So less than means smaller. Okay, 184 and 159 are our numbers. So take a second to look at those numbers. First, we look at the hundreds place, and they both have 100. And then we look at the tens place, since they both have the same amount of hundreds. And 184 has a lot more tens than 159, right? There's an 8 in the tens place here and a 5 in the tens place here. So 184 is going to be bigger than this number. So what do we need to circle to make the sentence true? 184 is greater than, it is bigger, 159. So now let's read the whole sentence together out loud. 184 is greater than 159. Next one, 213 is less than or is greater than 206. Well, they both have a 2 in the hundreds place. So we look over at the tens place, and one of them has a 0 in the tens place, and one of them has a 1 in the tens place. So we're going to say 213 is greater than 206 because a 1 in the tens place is bigger than a 0. 299 is less than or is greater than 300. 299 is smaller than 300, right? There's a 3 in the hundreds place and a 2 in the hundreds place. So we're going to say 299 is less than 300. 523 is less than or greater than 543. So let's look at our two numbers. They both have a 5 in the hundreds place, so we can't decide yet. Look at the tens place. This one has a 2 and this one has a 4. So 523 is going to be less than 534 because 4 tens is bigger than 2 tens. 361 is less than or greater than 367. Well, this one's a little bit different. There's 3 in the hundreds place. So we look at the tens. There's a 6 in both numbers in the tens place. So then we look at the ones. There's a 1 in the ones place here and a 7 in the ones place here. So is this number less than or greater than this number? Less than, because a 1 is less than the 7 in the ones place. So let's read it together. 361 is less than 367. Okay, a couple more here on the front. 705 is less than or greater than 698. Well, there's a 7 in the hundreds place and only a 6 in the hundreds place. So 705 is greater than 698. Look at 465 and 456. They have the same digits, just in the different order. So 4 in the hundreds place. So we look at the tens, 6 in the tens place here, and a 5 in the tens place here. So this one is greater. 465 is greater than 456. 465 is greater than 456. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier. So we're going to need to figure out what this number is. We have 100 plus 30 plus 8. They wrote it in expanded form, and our job was to figure out what the number was. So it's 138 or 183. So we have a 1 in the hundreds place, and then our tens place is a 3 over here and an 8 over here. So our first number is less than this number. Let's read it out loud. 138 is less than 183. And the last one for the front, 3 tens and 5 ones. So 3 tens, 5 ones, our number is 35, is less than or greater than 32. Well, there's a 3 in the tens place in both, but we look at those ones and there's a 5 in the ones here and a 2 in the ones over here. So 35 is greater than, because 5 is greater than 2. Let's read it out loud together. 3 tens and 5 ones is greater than 32. Great job. Now we are going. Before we look at the back of our problem set, I'm going to go over greater than and less than symbols with you. So I did my hands like this because that's what they look like this. Like little open mouths of a crocodile is how I think of it. So when you see a number here, like let's use 5, and a number over here, like we'll use 9, and then the circle in the middle. The circle in the middle is where we're supposed to put the symbol for greater than or less than. So on the other side of the problem set, we were circling words that said greater than or less than? Well, there's a shortcut where you don't have to write out the words greater than and write out the words less than. Instead, we have symbols that look like an alligator mouth chomping. And the alligator mouth always wants to eat the bigger number. So you always have the mouth open, going to eat the bigger number. And so the way that I remember that is if you have 5 and you have 9, you think, which one would I want to eat the plate of cookies? Would I want 9 cookies or 5 cookies? And you always want to eat the bigger number of cookies. So we're going to draw the alligator. He loves cookies, and his mouth is going to face the 9. You're not doing this. You're just watching with your eyes. But his open mouth is going to face the 9 because 9 is the bigger number, and he wants to eat that bigger number. So see, here's the symbol for greater than, and see if you, and you're obviously not going to draw this on your papers every time you write greater than, less than, but it's a really good way to remember. See how Miss Cadmus is not great at drawing crocodiles, but you picture a crocodile here. See how it looks like his mouth? His mouth with it open, or a dinosaur eating that bigger number. So that's how you can kind of remember greater than, less than, which way to make the little shape face. So if this was a 12, and then there's a circle in the middle, and then this was a 3, which one would you want the mouth to open towards, the 12 or the 3? Which one is bigger? 12. So we're going to have the mouth open, ready to eat the bigger number. Okay, so that's how greater than, less than works. This one, let's do another one. What if we have a 2 and we have a 17 and the circle in the middle? What would we put in that circle? Is it going to open towards the 17 or towards the 2? We have it open towards the 17 because that's the bigger number. So the way that you read that symbol when you see it is you would say 12 is greater than 3. On this one, it would say 2 is less than 17. Okay, so that's how those symbols work, greater than, less than. They face this way or they can face this way. Okay, and you have the mouth open to the bigger number. Okay, let's look at it on our problem set together. Write greater than, less than, or equal to. So in each of these circles, we have to either write greater than, less than, or equal to. Whisper the complete number sentences as you work. Okay, let's do letter A, 900 and 899. Well, like I told you on the other side, we're going to look at the hundreds place first to decide which one is greater. So 900 has a 9 in the hundreds place, and 899 has an 8 in the hundreds place. Which is bigger, 8 or 9 hundreds? The 9 is bigger. So we're going to make the mouth open towards the 9 because it is bigger. So when we read that, it says whisper the complete number sentence as you work. We're going to say 900 is greater than 899. Great job. Let's go to the next one, letter B. 267 and 269. So let's look at the hundreds place first. And they both have a 2 in the hundreds place. So we can't figure out which one's greater just from looking at the hundreds. So we go next to the next place, and it's the tens. And they both have a 6 in the tens. And that looks exactly the same. So then we think, maybe these numbers are equal. But then we look at the ones place, and there's a 7 in the ones place here and a 9 in the ones place here. And which one is greater, the 7 in the ones place or the 9 in the ones place? Right, the 9 is greater. So we're going to make the mouth open up towards that number with the 9 in the ones place because it is bigger. So now we read it, 267 is less than 269. Next, we have 537, 527. So they both have a 5 in the hundreds place. So we're now going to look at the tens place. And this one has a 3 in the tens place, and this one has a 2 in the tens place. So which is greater, 3 in the tens place or a 2 in the tens place? The 3 in the tens place is greater. So we're going to make the mouth open up towards the 3 in the tens place. So now we read that sentence together. 537 is greater than 527. Good job. Next, we have 419 and 491. So the same digits, they both have a 4 and a 9 and a 1. They're just in a different order. So we're going to look at the hundreds place, and they're both a 4. Then we look at the tens place, and this one has a 1, and this one has a 9 in the tens place. So then 1 with the 9 in the tens place is greater. So the mouth is going to open up towards that 9 in the tens place number. So we read that as 419 is less than 491. Next, now sometimes when they look like this and they're written, one's written in word form and one's written in standard form, we need to write this number out first in standard form or number form. So 980, we have to read it out loud. Say, how would we write that? 980 looks like that. Okay, so always write it out first in standard form. So they both have a 9 in the hundreds place. So that's the same. So now we look at the tens place. This one has a 0 in the tens place, and this one has an 8 in the tens place. So which is greater, the 8 or the 0? The 8 in the tens place is greater. So now we're going to read that as 908 is less than 980. 130, and then we have 80 plus 40. So let's figure out what 80 plus 40 is first. So I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to make my 40 into a number bond of 20 and 20, because if I give 20 over here, I can make 100. So that's what I'm going to do. Then I have 100 and I have 20, so my number is 120. Okay. Another way to figure that out is you could have said 80 plus 4 tens, so I can count by tens to see what I land on. I start at 80 and I count by tens 4 times to add 40, 4 tens. I could say 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. Same thing, just different way to get there. Okay, I'm going to look at my hundreds place, and they both have a 1 in the hundreds place, so that's the same. So I'm going to look next door at the tens. This one has a 3 in the tens place, and this number has a 2 in the tens place. So the 3 in the tens place number is where my mouth is going to open towards. So 130 is greater than 120. Okay, next, 271. It's written in word form. We are going to write it out in standard form. So 271 is written like this, 271. And now this one is written in expanded form, and I need to write it in number form or standard form. So 271. So 271. Okay, and I look here and I say, oh, they both have a 2 in the hundreds place. They both have a 7 in the tens place. And they both have a 1 in the ones place. So guess what? It's our first equal sign. So they're exactly the same number. One is not greater than the other one. They are the exact same. So in that circle, we're going to write equal sign. Equal sign. Those two numbers are equal to each other. Next one, letter H. We have 500 plus 40. So that's written in expanded form. Let's write it in standard form. 500 plus 40 is 540. And the other number is 504. So let's look at that hundreds place, and we have a 5 in the hundreds place on both of those numbers. So that's the same. Let's look next door at the tens place. This one has a 4 in the tens place, and this one has a 0 in the tens place. So which is greater, a 4 tens or a 0 tens? The 4 tens is greater. So that alligator mouth is going to open towards the 4 tens. So let's read it together now. It says 540 is greater than 504. Great job. Letter I, 10 tens and 101. Well, we've been working on that. How much is 10 tens? If you have 10 tens, you can trade them in for what? 100. And remember, I've also taught you the trick that if you see 10 and then the word tens, you just add a 0 to the end. So 10 tens. We add a 0 where the word tens is. It gives us the number. So we have 100, we have 101, and so there's a 1 in the hundreds place, same, both numbers. There's a 0 in the tens place, same for both numbers. And then you get to the ones place. And one of them has a 0 in the ones place, and one of them has a 1 in the ones place. And which one's greater, 0 or 1? 1 is greater. So that alligator mouth is going to towards the 101. Let's read it out loud together. 10 tens is less than 101. Next one, 4 tens, 2 ones. That's written out in unit form. So 4 tens, 2 ones. And then over here we have 30 plus 12. So I'm going to take my 12 and I'm going to make it go up 3 in the tens place because I'm adding 3 tens. So if I have 12, I'm going to go up 3 in the tens place. I'm going to say 12, and then there's be 22, and then 32, and then another 10 would be 42. So this number is 42. Okay, so look at that. I have 42 on one side and I have 42 on the other side, and 42 is equal to 42. So we're going to put that equal sign there in the middle. And let's read that one out loud together. Ready? So let's read number J. 4 tens, 2 ones is equal to 30 plus 12. They both equal the same number. Letter K, 36, subtract 10. And on the other side, we have 2 tens, 5 ones. So our job first is to write both of those in standard form. So 36 subtract 10, that means we're going to go down 1 in our tens place. So we had a 3 in our tens place. We're going to make it go down 1. So there was a 3. We're going to make our tens place go down 1. And our tens place is going to be a 2. And our ones place is going to stay a 10. Okay, so I have 26 on that side. And over here I have 2 tens, 5 ones. Okay, so I have 26 and I have 25. So they both have a 2 in the tens place. We go next door to the ones. There are more ones in 26 than in 25. So our alligator mouth is going to open towards the 26. Let's read that one out loud together. 36 subtract 10 is greater than 2 tens, 5 ones. Okay, and all we have left now is number 4. It says Noah and Charlie have a problem. Noah thinks 42 tens is less than 390. Who's correct? Explain your thinking below. Well, let's help Noah and Charlie figure out what's happening here. So Noah thinks 42 tens is less than, so 42 tens, he thinks it's less than 390. Okay, and Charlie thinks the opposite. So let's look at this one first. How much is 42 tens? Well, you put the 42 and you add the 0 on the end, right? For 42 tens. So 42 tens is 420. So when we look at these two numbers, there's a 4 in the hundreds place here, and there's a 3 in the hundreds place here. So that's a really easy one. We don't even have to look at the rest of the numbers. You can tell which one's bigger just by looking at the hundreds place, right? This number is bigger. So Noah's wrong. Charlie thinks 42 tens is greater than 390. So we know 42 tens is 420, and he has it as greater than 390. So we are with Charlie on this one. So let's figure out how to answer this. It says, who is correct? Charlie is correct. 42 tens is 420, period. 420 is greater than 390, period. And that is it for today's problem set. If I went too fast for you, remember the cool thing about a video is you can push pause and catch up. and then push play again. Okay, so that is it for today's problem set 16. Let's take a look at the homework page before I leave you. So your homework page, look, it looks just like your problem set page. It's almost the same at the top there. So they want you to draw the following numbers using place value discs on place value charts. So what you're going to do is 241. You're going to draw your circles on the place value chart to show 241, just like we did on the problem set. And then you have a couple answers underneath. It says, order the numbers from least to greatest. So after you draw all three of these on the place value chart, now you're going to order the numbers from least to greatest. So least means smallest, greatest means biggest. So the smallest number goes here, the middle number goes here, and the greatest number goes last. Number 2 says circle less than or greater than. Whisper the complete sentence. So just like we did on our problem set, you have two numbers, 112, 135. You're going to circle less than or greater than, whichever one fits with those. Just like we did together, you're going to look at the hundreds place first, and then the tens place, and then the ones place to try to decide which number is bigger. Okay, so if the hundreds place is the same, you'll look at the tens place, like this one. And then you're just going to circle the word less than or circle the word greater than, and then read that whole number sentence out loud to yourself. That's for all of those there. Remember, on these, you need to write the number in standard form. Otherwise, you're just kind of guessing. So if you see 4 tens and 2 ones, you need to write out the number that is 4 tens and 2 ones before you decide which is greater and which one's lesser than. Okay, write greater than, less than, or equal to in each of those circles at the bottom. So you're going to look at the two numbers and decide which way the crocodile mouth should face. It's going to eat that bigger number. When you get over here to these, have it written in unit form, make sure you go up above it and write it in standard form. So when you see 9, 10, 6 ones, make sure you write out 9, 10, 6 ones above it. Okay, and then the back is blank. So that's all you need to do today. That shouldn't take you a super long time to fill out your homework page on your own and go turn it in. When you're done, you're going to make sure you're caught up through lesson 16 on Zern for today. Thank you for joining me for math, and I will see you again next time.